We're just going to prove a point that we will even come do a podcast even when the tide looks ugly.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Tide Hoops history, Michael Southern, that's him. Jimmy Stein in transit today. He may be in transit to like the ICU from just vomiting in terror last night at how badly Alabama played. But want to thank all you everydayers for being here every day. Thank you newbies for being here today. And thanks everybody for making this your first listen every single day. That's why I wanted to do a podcast, because I didn't think it'd be right to not do one after we stunk so badly last night. Michael, thanks for joining us impromptu.
No, appreciate you having me on. I wish we had better things to discuss than the really not good performance last night on the road. That was not good. That was ugly.
It was really bad. And a few things we can just go ahead and get out of the way. First of all, another horrid start. It's 12-0 before you can even blink. I'm staying at a hotel in Mississippi, and they don't have SEC network, so I had to scramble to. I got here just in time, scrambled to get online very quickly, then get my ESPN app running. And by the time I got it all clicked up and running, it was already 12-0. And I was like, what in the world is going on? And, of course, we started that way 9-0 against Auburn. These slow starts are killing us. But now that's 2 games in a row. We've never had the lead. And I don't even know what to say about that. This team is too good to have 2 things like that happen. Against Auburn is one thing. They're the number 1 team in the country. Missouri's really good, but to never, ever have the lead, I don't know, Michael.
Yeah, so a couple things. So let's not lose sight of the fact that these two are 2 of the best teams in the conference. I mean, we already know how good Auburn is. Auburn is great. Alabama played tight. We can admit that. And Auburn is a more consistent team. Alabama is just, you see the highs and you see the lows. You saw the lows last night, especially on defense. And I don't understand the slow start. They had the lineup change. We were getting a little more excited. I guess because of the lineup change, I don't know. They went back to being careless with the ball. I don't understand what happened with the defense. But remember, Missouri is one of the teams that beat Florida. So this is a good team. They were ready for Alabama. It was a jacked environment for a midweek game. Still no excuses for the way Alabama played on defense. I mean, the offense actually came back and played a little bit better. But, again, I don't want to harp too much on the defense. And again, you're still talking about a team that's 21-5 and 10-3 in the SEC. They have to right the ship, though, because again, you cannot let this thing tailspin. This is a critical moment with the stretch that you have coming up. So I don't know what they're going to do these next couple of days to hopefully do a little bit better on defense, but that is definitely a glaring concern. Your backcourt defense. Look, we know Alabama doesn't have the most physical guards. They're small, they're undersized, they're not twitchy. But again, we got to do a better job on those switches. We're leaving way too many people wide open for threes.
I'm going to also say this. I was prepared to tell everyone that, hey, y'all, this is not Jimmy Stein, because I assumed Jimmy Stein would be a name there. And it already has Michael Southern, and I don't know how it did that. I didn't type that there, and I'm scared to death.
Oh, so, it let me do it. I did it.
Oh, my God. I really was. I was very confused.
Well, I tell you what, next time you want me to type in the Asian Jimmy Stein, I can do that. I may do that for fun next time. How about that?
Still funny.
Yeah, I can do that.
But, okay, I think what I like to do after a loss a lot of times, I usually want to try and calm people down. Now, I mean, I've had rants of my own, but I usually like to say, especially in basketball, like, okay, let's do it in a managerial technique of a compliment and a critique sandwich, where you do compliment, critique, compliment to sort of, soften the blow on either side. I don't know that I can do that this time. And I think I'm going to do it the opposite: critique, compliment, critique. The first critique, of course, our bigs, boy, you talk about disappointing. And they've had their moments this year. I thought Cliff Amore was really beginning to fit in this system. Boy, he was just non-existent last night. I don't know where he was 4-4 from the line, which I appreciate. Grant Nelson, he sort of made a few of the first buckets, and then I don't feel like I ever saw him again. I mean, if he was out there, I was like, oh, Grant Nelson's out there. Like it sort of was a surprise. And then Jaron Stevenson, again, his regression this year, outside of one game where he had a really nice game here a couple of games ago, his regression is puzzling, is mystifying. And so the three guys that we use the most on the interior, they were just not nowhere to be found last night. And that's a problem.
Well, the really big concern is too, look at the stretch that you have coming up. You think, Missouri or Auburn was a matchup problem? Florida is a matchup problem. They are huge, and those guys have got to stand their ground. I don't know if it's a confidence issue with Jaron. Again, you see that he'll make plays, but like on rebounds, who just won't be able to hold on the ball, and the other team takes it away from him. And that if Jaron misses the first one or two shots, it's going to be a long night for him. So I think with Jaron's case, it's all confidence. He's got the physical attributes to be great. I mean, we've heard Coach Pannone talk about how Jaron is fantastic in practice, but it does not translate on the court right now. I really think it stems to confidence. With Cliff, I mean, again, I won't say that. I guess we can admit it's a little disappointing at times. You've seen good Cliff, bad Cliff, but remember, this is the MO for the team right now. I don't know why they can't find the steady balance. Is it because of the continual changeup of the lineups? Again, with defense, you need a little continuity. I don't know. That the communication's not there. You have an issue in the backcourt, depending if you play a team with larger guards. So you really need to depend on that front court, and they have let you down at times. Look, Grant hustles. He plays hard, but he takes the ball fake pretty easy. So you see him leave the ground a lot. So again, those are a little more fundamental issues. I don't know, again, if it's from continuity, not playing enough together, and what the issues are with the communication. So they got to figure this out, because again, you're going to be at Tennessee. They're going to try their best to punk you. Tennessee's going to come in there and just try to pound you down. We're not the most physical team up front, so I'm concerned about that. And we already know the matchup issues with Florida. They are so huge, and they are huge, athletic, and their guards are large. Walter Clayton Jr. is going to be a matchup problem too. So Florida is a very difficult matchup for Alabama. Thankfully, that game's at home. I'm not saying Alabama can't win that game, but they're going to have a much better effort on defense than what you've seen these last couple of games.
I think that's a great point about Grant Nelson. He goes for every pump fake, it seems like. I mean, there were several and one opportunities. I think there were two in a row where the foul was on Grant later in the first half last night. And I'm looking at the stat sheet, and it's worse than I thought. I mean, a lot of times I like to go into this sort of blind so you can see my actual reaction as the stat sheet. First of all, Cliff Amore only played 15 minutes. He was 0 of 2. 4 from 4 from the line, but only 2 rebounds. Grant played 18 minutes, 3 of 5 from the field, which isn't awful, but and 2 of 2 from the stripe, but only 3 rebounds. And then there's Jaron Stevenson, who didn't start, but played more minutes than either one of them with 22. He was 1 of 2 from the field. The 1 of 2 was a 3-pointer. And then he had 4 rebounds. And Aiden Sherrill, I thought Aiden Sherrill, in the 6 minutes he played, he was as productive as any of the other guys. So Aiden Sherrill, who didn't play against Auburn pretty famously, I thought he came in and gave 6 good minutes. Now, look, going into this game, I was thinking this is a good game for us. One way or the other, I like going on the road after losing at Auburn, being disappointed, being crestfallen, and you go on the road and you try and recapture your swagger. And they didn't do it. They just didn't do it. But we're going to talk more about this, and we're going to have our compliment and final critique right after I tell you about Roy. All right, attention, Locked On Bama fans. The future of sports is here, and it's transparent. Before the Roy app, NIL negotiations often happened under the table, and fans didn't have a clear way to directly support the athletes they love. Now with Roy, that's ROY, you get to be a part of the change and support Locked On Bama athletes in the most transparent and apparent way possible. Roy is the NIL app, which allows you to choose the player you want to support, decide how much you want to contribute, receive exclusive content from the athletes you back. The best part, if your player transfers, you get your money back. That's crazy talk, and Roy is doing it. It's a risk-free way to show your support. For a limited time, Roy is matching up to $100 per Locked On Bama fan. That means your impact is doubled, helping to keep your favorite players right where they belong. The Roy app is giving fans control. No more uncertainty, y'all. Now you can provide transparent, impactful support and help shape the team and the future of college sports with your contributions. Download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing Bama athletes the way they deserve to be backed, with transparency, with trust, and a real impact. This is the future of college sports. Join it now by downloading Roy and supporting your favorite players. Go get that Roy app. I'm telling you, this is a good way to help Bama. Hey, it's a good way maybe to help Bama get out of this basketball funk. So y'all come on in. Yeah, that Roy app. I mean, look, for all those, what I learned from talking to some folks that maybe are associated with at Bama and other programs, that what happens a lot of times is people get mad when their team loses, so they want to help contribute less, which makes no sense because you make the problem worse. When things are not going well is when they really need you. So I'm probably over here maybe talking about how the sky is falling. It's not. Let's go back to the compliment section that I talked about. Mark Sears had 35. Maybe he found his groove to a degree. I want to look at his stats really quick. I just know he had 35 points. He was 12 of 20 from the field, 5 of 11 from deep, 6 of 7 from the line. He had 5 assists, only 4 turnovers, and he had 2 rebounds. I mean, look, and then there's Mo Diabate. I mean, Mo Diabate is the steady Eddie of this team. He is the guy that you can count on if you ask me. Look, he's the most dependable guy on this team if you ask me. Mo Diabate, 28 minutes, 5 of 7 from the field, 3 of 6 from free throws. Okay, they've got to clean that up a little bit. 10 rebounds. He had 10 rebounds. Cliff Amore had 2. Grant Nelson had 3. Jaron Stevenson had 4. Diabate had 1 more rebound than those other 3 bigs combined. And he had 4 assists. So, those 2 guys, Mark Sears finally getting his groove back a little bit, and Diabate being the steady force he is, that's big. That's good. But, man, do they need some help, guys. Somebody's got to step up. And look, it starts this weekend against Kentucky. You think Kentucky's going to come in here and just be intimidated by Coleman Coliseum? They're not. They're not intimidated by any venue. So Kentucky's going to come in here. They got good players. They just waxed Vanderbilt last night. They're going to come in ready to play. And we're going to need our fans at full throat, ready to rock again.
So I want to be like you. I want to do, I guess, the praise and the critique. So, yes, Mo Diabate is the heart and soul of the team right now when it comes to effort. Now I'm going to spin it back to critique really quick. You just pointed out a good fact. So Mo Diabate leads the team in rebounds. And he's one of the shorter players that you've got playing in the front court. The other 3, given their physical attributes, I mean, everyone knows rebounding is effort at the end of the day. I mean, you've seen some of the greatest rebounders not be the tallest players, and you often shake your head like, well, why is someone who's 6'11", why aren't they getting at least 8, 9, 10 rebounds a game? And you've got Mo out there at 6'6", getting 10. So that's, again, effort. I don't know, inside, do we get pushed around a lot? The body frame is thin, but I still don't buy that because look at Mo. It's not like he's overwhelming from a physical standpoint. The other concerning thing, too, you talked about Mark. He had a great offensive night. He did. But take in mind at this, look at your 3 primary ball handlers. Out of your 14 turnovers, 11 of them came from the 3 guys that are supposed to handle the ball the most. They were a little rattled. They were a little shaken. It didn't look like they knew exactly what they wanted to do offensively, which is surprising because usually this team knows what they want to do offensively. So I don't know. I don't know if because the pressure, they got down by double digits so much, I don't know. They were pushing even faster than what they should have been. The turnovers are concerning and the lack of rebounding. Those are 2 things. Because guess what? You do that on the road, there's no way you're going to win. You do that at home, you're not going to win. But especially on the road, that's a recipe for disaster, and that's exactly what happened last night. So I don't know. Cut back on the turnovers, and you've got to get those Alabama's too big not to dominate inside against anybody on rebounding. So that was mystifying last night.
Let me throw one more positive in there. At least I find this to be positive, but I can spin it another way. Aiden Holloway in 20 minutes, he was 4 of 8, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. He had 11 points. I thought he was very productive in the amount of time he was out there. In fact, I would have given him some more minutes probably. I know LeBaron Fallon played a lot, and he played pretty well. He had 14 points, 29 points. 14 points, 29 minutes, 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 4 from beyond the arc. Here's the problem with that. Neither Fallon nor Aiden Holloway took a free throw, which tells me they probably weren't being physical enough getting to the rack. And Aiden Holloway has done a great job until these last couple of games of getting to the rack, hitting that really high off the backboard teardrop shot. And it's been doing pretty well. Fallon is a very physical force. He is like a safety out there playing point guard sometimes. It didn't materialize last night for whatever reason. And again, going back to the critiques, I think defense, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what you do at this point to change it up. It's a little late in the season to say, boy, we got to scrap and start over. Cliff Amore, I want to go back to him for a second. We were all so thrilled when he came to Alabama. I'm still thrilled he's here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not giving up on Big Cliff. I'm not giving up on this team. I don't want anybody to think that. And if I could just add one more thing to the, not necessarily compliment side, but to the, hey, here's a bit of good news. When we play in the tournament, and that's what matters. That's all that matters. I would love to win the SEC regular season. Auburn's probably going to win it. I would love to because it's a nice cherry on top. But we all know you're judged by March. I'm going to say it again. This is not sour grapes. I would love to care more about the SEC regular season. I've been conditioned over this last 15 years or so to not worry about it quite as much. I'm more worried about where you finish in March because that's how you're judged. Now, Cliff Amore, when he got here, excuse me. I go back to my other points. I ramble on. But we won't be playing in an environment like Missouri. Now, we will play an environment like that at Tennessee, at Auburn, of course. Those are our last 2 road games. But we won't be doing that in the tournament. It'll be more of a 50-50-ish type of thing. And some of the fans will just be hyped for whoever they feel like pulling for that particular day. Or maybe who's behind, or maybe who's ahead. They're fickle in the tournament. So that's a positive in the sense that you talked about the guards getting rattled. I don't think that'll be as much of an issue unless the pressure itself, the pressure of the game versus the pressure of the venue gets to them. Now, going back to Cliff Amore for a second, I think he's one of the more physically imposing players I've ever seen an Alabama team have. Now, I don't remember the 76 squad, but I know they had some dudes that would scare the bejesus out of you too just when they walked on the court. But Cliff Amore looks like the kind of guy that he should be swallowing rebounds. Like it should be hard for him not to get rebounds. And yet he got 2 last night. I mean, there's something wrong with that. Is there some kind of aggressive gene that's missing here?
I don't know if it's an aggressive gene. I mean, if you go back and look at the way he played, at Rutgers, you saw an aggressive style. You saw someone who played great defense. Now, granted, remember the SEC this year, as far as talent and athletes, it's a whole nother level than what he came from. So where he maybe saw 1 or 2 teams that were good throughout the season, and he got to feast on maybe some other teams that were not so athletic, not so big, you're getting it every night now in the SEC. This is an unbelievable year for the league with the players that you have out there. That's a hard one. And I agree with you. I mean, I want to win the SEC. I want to win the SEC tournament. I want to win everything, and I want them to go deep in March. But if you tell me like, hey, you're not going to win the SEC, but you're going to make a deep run, then yes, we'll take that. We saw what happened last year. Look, Alabama, they flamed out in the first round of the SEC tournament, go to the Final Four. Auburn wins the SEC tournament, loses to Yale. Which one would you rather have? I know which one I'll take. Yeah. Now, I'm not giving up on the season. There's a chance Alabama needs to finish in the top 4. They need to get the double bye. They need to not play until Friday. They need to get a little bit of confidence back. And then I agree with you. I think they'll do quite well on neutral courts. I don't think that's going to be a problem when they get into the tournament. It will get to be a problem when they get deeper into it if they get there. You get to the second weekend, you're going to run into some teams that are going to try to punk you. And Alabama's not had a good track record with that so far this season. And if that front court doesn't just stand up to the challenge, that'll be an issue. I agree with you. I don't think the guards will get as rattled. I think the guards will be better. I think, guard play is important in the NCAA tournament. Talking about Aiden last night, he was very productive in the minutes he's played, but Aiden has had a history with confidence. I'm not saying it affected his production, but remember when he threw that one turnover that just drove Oats crazy, what did coach do? He just jerked him out of the game. You didn't see Aiden play for like 10 minutes. So I think that was a knee-jerk reaction from coach. You really needed Aiden more on the court last night from an offensive standpoint. When you're down by 12 and you're down by 20, get your best offensive guys in there. You got to find a way to come back. And I think that hurt a little bit. Again, coach got his first technical of the year. He broke the clipboard. I mean, you had a lot of circumstances and things that just went wrong last night. So the best thing to do, like we said, flush this one. Just flush it. Move on. Start working on Kentucky. Do not let this turn into a 3-game slide. You cannot afford that, right? You've got to win your home games now. You have no choice.
Yeah, I think that's important that you do have to make sure it's not a 3-game slide, because if it gets to be a 3-game slide, it could be a 5 or 6-game slide, because you've got a Mississippi State squad that, gave us fits over in Starkville, and Josh Hubbard. That's another thing. We have been giving up. I haven't minded it because it hasn't been a huge issue. We've only got 5 losses. I think, again, step back from the ledge. We still only have 5 losses. If you had told any of us heading into the Kentucky game in Tuscaloosa last weekend, is it the last weekend in February? Yeah, last weekend in February, that we were, what are we now, Michael? We're 1-3 in the conference.
10-3.
We're 10-3 in the. If you had said we were 10-3, I think we would have taken it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is that we have, number one, we've seen Auburn sort of, stroll through the conference. That makes us mad. I mean, let's call it a spade a spade. We also think we probably could have won. We should have beaten Ole Miss. We didn't think we'd lose to Ole Miss. See, that's the thing. Like when you tell somebody you're 10-3, like I'm trying to tell you, hey, 10-3 is pretty good. You would have taken it 6 weeks ago. Somebody will say, yeah, but we didn't think we'd lose to Ole Miss. Well, true, but you probably didn't think you'd beat Mississippi State and Kentucky on the road, and Texas A&M on the road. So that was a bit of a trade-off. I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just trying to say you got to look big picture. And as long as we still win the remaining home games, which is going to be tough. I mean, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Florida, they're no jokes. I mean, they're all tournament teams. And if we can win one of the remaining road games, I will be ecstatic. If we finish up 3-2, I'm pretty happy. It will give us a bye. We'll get a bye. I believe that wholeheartedly. And I believe we'll be no worse than a 2 seed. I will be fine with that. If we go 3-3 or worse, I'm probably going to be a little concerned. I wish that we could win the conference. I really do. But that's not going to happen. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was we have a habit of letting one guy go off on us. And I haven't really minded that much. But, the guy from North Dakota had 40. Josh Hubbard had 38. Last night, Mitchell had 31. We've seen other guys have 30 on us. I'm okay with that because we've been winning most of those games. The problem is last night we didn't win it, so it sticks out like a sore thumb. And then you start talking about the other ones that happened, but you just leave out the part where we won the game.
Well, that's still a disturbing trend, though. So when you have the habit of letting someone have a career night against you, whether you win or lose, I'm sure no one went into the game plan saying, "Hey, let's let someone have a career night." So whether we win or lose, that's not what they're trying to do. So again, I don't know the inner workings of what Brian Adams and what the defense and what Nate's actually wanting to do and what they're trying to do on defense, because I haven't seen it yet. So I don't know what the vision is. We all know what the vision is on offense. I don't know what the vision is on defense. Now, remember, in 21 and 23, Alabama had the third best, most efficient defense in the country. But remember, you had a different type athletes, and you had bigger guards, and you had some very historical type players on defense. Everyone forgets how good Brandon Miller was at the 3 on defense. I mean, he was a huge difference. You had Noah Clowney at the 4, Charles at the 5. So again, I'm not saying this front court is as good as that, but they shouldn't be as bad as they are. And again, the guard play is the guard play. So, we're going to take some lumps on that one, especially coming up with some of these mismatches that we have. But I don't know that they better figure it out, because time's running out for this season. I don't want people to think the sky is falling, but there are some things that need to be fixed, most definitely.
Now, here's the other thing about basketball that works pretty well, and I guess now it's that way in football with the playoff system. get through the regular season. Like I said, if you can finish the regular season going 3-2, or is it how many games we have left?
Yeah, you got 5 left because we played 13.
Oh yeah, 3-2. So maybe I was wrong earlier, but whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I was saying if we go 2-3, not 3-3. That's what I was trying to say. So if we go 3-2, I'm going to be kind of happy. That's 13-5 in the conference. And we had said a long time ago we would take 13-5 and just go to the house. And the other thing that happens, the second season starts. You know, in basketball, you could divide the regular season up into seasons too if you want to, but I tend to look at it like the regular season is its own thing, and then the postseason is like, hey, everybody's starting at 0 now. Yep. And it's sort of, you know, winning you're in, losing you're out, and there's some good and bad to that. But I think with this team, that it may be good to get a refresh, good to get a reboot. And I think they need it. You know, there's some teams that want to keep playing through the regular season. They're like, we're playing awesome. I don't want to look at it as a reboot. We're playing awesome right now. Well, I think we're going to look at it like, hey, we need to start over.
So basically, to borrow from football, we need to be Ohio State. So you want to have new life in the playoffs. You want to have new life in the postseason. Look, I don't want them to go to Nashville and bomb out in the first round like they did last year either. Because I got to tell you, when I left Nashville last year, I was pretty down because they looked horrible against Florida, and I was sitting there saying, I don't know. I mean, I was concerned they would be one and done in NCAA tournament, but they didn't. They turned it around. Credit to them. So I'm not saying that I don't want them to lose the first game in Nashville, but you know, this team is way too talented to go out early anywhere in any tournament. So that if that were to happen, then that will be a huge disappointment. There's too much talent on this team for that.
And here's the other thing. I want everybody off the ledge because, number one, we are going to be – everybody's last night, we're going to be a 4 seed. We're not going to
No.
We're going to be a 1, 2, or 3, and I'm thinking right now I'm leaning either the lowest one or one of the higher 2s. That's what I'm leaning. Now, here's the other thing that people are like, we're just playing so badly right now. It is not. I've learned this. People love to tell you their indicators of how you're going to do in the tournament based on, you know, how you did all year or how you did towards the end of the season. We've learned. Last year we bombed out in the SEC tournament, like you said. And what do? We made our best run ever. And it wasn't like we just ran through a bunch of soup cans. I mean, we played some pretty good teams that were rough and tumble. Then you talk about UConn several years ago. You know, they sort of stunk it up through the years, and they were going this miraculous run in the big, back when it was a Big East tournament, and they win the national championship. Those are just 2 that are sticking out to me right now. But you see evidence of this all the time. What Auburn won the SEC tournament last year, and what they do? Lose to Yale. There is no indicator that what you're doing at the end of the year has anything with what you're going to do in the tournament, because it is all about how you address the tournament going forward. And, you know, hopefully this team can get it turned around, though. I would like to see some more character and fight. We didn't see it last night. And I'm like you, let's flush it and move on and see what happens. But I'll tell you something else we got to flush, Michael. We got to flush this podcast because it's time to rock. But you got to get back to work. So appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for filling in for Jimmy. And until next time, everybody, roll tide.
Roll Tide.